Good evening. Welcome to tonight's live stream. I'm going to get started in a moment. I just need to let everybody on social media know that the stream is currently on the air. Now, before I get into tonight's live stream, I want to give everybody an update on the SJS Direct 2024 catalog. Now, today is a big day for the SJS Direct 2024 catalog because this is the day that John Haynes Illuminati launches on online booksellers all across the globe. And you can get your copy of John Haynes Illuminati on Amazon.com in paperback right now, or you can go to other online booksellers like the iBookstore, Google Play, Barnes and Noble, and you can possibly even go to big box retailers to get paperback versions on Walmart and Target. And this is the first book of the SJS Direct 2024 catalog. And in addition to John Haynes Illuminati, there are two other books coming out for 2024. There is Isis Dark Incubus, the start of the third story arc in the Isis series, with a beautiful cover by Bill Wacko and Romael Villamol. Fantastic color and art from both Bill and Ravel. And this is a big story for ISIS, and I definitely want you to get this one on April 26th after you've picked up John Haynes' Illuminati. And on May 24th, there's Esteem Horror in the Hamptons, another big story for the SJS Direct universe. And this is going to be a fun one with a little lighthearted horror. And this one comes out on May 24th. So you can get both Isis, Dark Incubus, and Esteem Horror in the Hamptons by pre-ordering right now on Amazon.com and online booksellers if you want a digital version, and you can get a paper version on online booksellers on April 26th and May 24th. And right now, I'm doing a refresh of one of the best books in the ISIS series, the first book in the ISIS series, actually, Isis Amari's Revenge. And this book is right now available in paperback with a great cover by Nick Capone with colors and Bill Walker on art. And I want people to pick this one up. That's why I did the refresh on the cover, because I want people to pick this book up and see how great it is. Good evening, Nightingale Wednesday Nightmare. Glad to see you here. And in addition to that book, I wanted to show everybody the ad if they missed it. And that ad is the new John Haynes Illuminati ad, and you guys can check that out right now. Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes Illuminati, a man who rules the world, takes on the head of the global elite in this all-new action-packed John Haynes series adventure. Get your copy of John Haynes Illuminati in paperback and e-readers at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere. And with that ad on, I want to introduce my guest, Mr. Chris from Chris and Company, so we can start the Friday night barbecue. Mr. Chris, are you there? Let me see, put him on.
Yeah,
You there,
yeah,
Mr. Chris?
yeah, I'm right here.
Great. Now we can start the Friday night barbecue.
How you doing, Sean?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, fantastic. Today's been a great news day.
Yeah, big news.
Candace Owens got fired from the Daily Wire. I mean, goodness gracious. Even even I didn't think that it was gonna happen this soon, but man, I guess her idiocy just really revved and ramped up the the her fate, I guess. So
Well, she's on some of that same stuff that New York Attorney General Letitia James is on, and thinking that she has an honorary position with white supremacy and can do whatever she pleases. And the mistake that you got Candace Owens making is that she thought that she had a platform to say whatever she wanted, and she made the mistake of biting the hand that fed her. Now, when I listen to Candace Owens and she's sitting up here making pro-Palestine statements on these white supremacist platforms, I already knew that the nail was in the coffin for her because she was making these statements that would be considered offensive to the people who sign her paycheck.
right, like how stupid can you really be? Like she's so arrogant. Her, Fannie Willis, Letitia James, Tiffany Henyard, all these broads, they're so arrogant that they're willing to destroy their own careers, they're willing to destroy themselves, and they're willing to destroy anyone and everyone around them to force their modern gynocentric women idiocy upon other people that are willing to listen.
They thought they were honorary white women. They thought they were going to have the same privileges, not even understanding that even white women know where the line is. I mean, even the Me Too women, they knew after they went after that senator. I forget what his name is, but I know his name was Al Franken. They realized that how badly
Yeah,
they screwed up, and they realized, hey, these are the guys who sign our paychecks, and if we start going after the guys who sign our paychecks, they're going to start signing our paychecks. But these black female bootlicks, they just don't understand where the line is as related to the system of white supremacy they signed on. They thought they could be like those white women, and they thought they had even greater privileges than those white women because they thought, like you have said and I've said before, these white women think, not these white, these black women think that they are in the same position as a white man and a white woman, not understanding that if you cross certain lines, that's when they decide to get rid of you.
absolutely. Most absolutely. That's why I'm here tonight because we're going to be able to break this down so much so that there's going to be more of these bootlicking frogs being exposed, being called out on their BS, and they're not going to have anywhere to go. There's no safe space for Candace Owens. There's no safe space for Fannie Willis. There's no safe space for Tiffany Henyard. They can't blame black men for their shortcomings, and they can't say they never got opportunities to be successful or to make a difference in life. They can't say that either. No more excuses. I love it.
Nope, this is all on them.
Absolutely. It's all on them. I mean, you know, uh, within my I was trying to make my commentary and I was trying to upload it and put it on tonight. But guess what, ladies and gentlemen, and nieces and nephews, you'll get to see an actual picture of me tonight as long as the videos Mr. James upload will play. You'll get to see my face tonight. Now, with that being said, I really want us to focus on the black nuclear family. And the reason why is that in past broadcasts, I've always talked about how the family, how black families got destroyed, and the time frame starting with the burning of the broad, the 60s, and all of that, right? But now, with what's going on with Candace Owens, what's going on with Fannie Willis, there, the bottom line is simple: that all of this, everything from watching Oprah, watching Rolanda, watching Maury, and all of those crybaby shows back in the 80s and 90s, and there's a few scraggling around today. It's all been systematically designed to destroy the black nuclear family. Full
I'll have,
stop.
I'll have to agree with you on that.
The Iran Contra scandal, because that's what brought crack cocaine into the black neighborhoods, flooding the streets with cocaine when we black folks don't have the planes or the people to bring that shit into this country. It has all been a design to destroy the black nuclear family, because for some weird reason we have an American government that's afraid of a black man and a black woman having two kids and a dog. It scares the living hell out of them. And what they've done is that they spent billions of dollars uh, with propaganda and the mainstream maggot mayonnaise mafia media that put these bullshit shows like Oprah and Rolanda and all of them on the air, and they were systematically designed to destroy us. And we Generation X black men caught it worse, Sean, because here's why. While all of this was going on, while the whole plan to destroy the black family was going on, you and I weren't really old enough to really process it because we were both teenagers in the 80s.
Yeah.
So we didn't really have a clue what was going on. All right. The information age, this was pre-information age, folks. So we were still we were naive in thinking, well, we're holding out on hope. We're not going to cast aspersions or judgment. But while that was going on, we had an entire media apparatus. We had a whole generation of modern women that were passing that bullshit down. I'm talking about the baby boomers. Y'all know who y'all are. The baby boomer women that are currently single today, that's either sleeping with white guys or sleeping with young guys, younger, far young, 20, 30 years younger than them. They passed that crap down to the Generation X women. And so when that was going on, we were the ones that were behind the eight ball. We were the ones that was behind the eight ball during that time.
Yeah, I can agree with that because I grew up in the 80s and we were told the whole thing about going to school, getting an education, not
Hmm.
understanding we were being indoctrinated into a bunch of propaganda telling us to be quote unquote good men, not understanding that that was just garbage because what they were doing was turning the women against us with this
Hmm.
feminist propaganda from all the way from the 60s and this misandry that they were programming women and indoctrinating them into with shows like the Oprah Winfrey Show, movies like The Color Purple and just plain old a lot of this white supremacist. This is all in the public schools, mind you, and also with the movies and television. They were telling the black boys to become these good black men, but then when we would go out here and try to get the jobs, they wouldn't give us the job. So they give the woman the job and tell her that the man was no good. I mean, this was all designed to put us against each other, and we didn't even
Yep.
see what was going on.
Hmm. And this is very important, folks, because we're literally telling you, from us Generation X men, X Men, funny,
Hmm.
that in the time that all of the propaganda was going on, the anti-black man media machine was going on. We didn't know. We didn't know. We
No,
didn't
I
have a
didn't. I
clue.
didn't. I didn't figure out until the mid to late '90s when I started trying to send positive books to publishers and wondering when I was getting rejected. And it wasn't until about 2007 or so that I figured it out that they don't want positive black fiction from a black male writer. They want to make this propaganda, this man bashing propaganda, and that's all they want is that man bashing propaganda
Right.
because it fits their narrative. And if you go to them with something from from a heterosexual black man, they don't want it from you because it refutes their narratives about black men because they only want books about black men who are brutes and beasts and talking about sexual deviancy. That's what they want. They don't want anything from an intelligent black man because that shatters all their narratives and is a person who can be a counterpoint to their narratives about, oh, there's no good black men. Well, there's a black man sitting here countering your talking points. That's what they didn't want for years until YouTube
Right.
came along. And it was YouTube that finally started giving us the counterpoint. But what they wanted was this narrative, oh, no good black men, greasy black men doing black women wrong. I know this for a fact because I submitted books from about 1998 to 2007 or so. And all I got were rejections. And I wondered why. And I realized, oh, you didn't want these books because the white women who run the publishing companies, they don't want it to hear one from a heterosexual black man, and two, they don't want to hear stories from a heterosexual black man. One, promoting black on black love. Two, promoting black men as successes. Three, promoting an idea of a black man being responsible and looking out for a black woman. They don't want those kind of stories from black men because they have a narrative of black men being lazy, black men being incompetent, black men being stupid, black men not taking care of their children. When there are a lot of brothers out here doing that work, but they don't want to hear from those brothers because it doesn't fit their media narrative.
Right. And that takes a lot of money, and that takes a lot of that takes a lot of money, and that takes a lot of work to continue that negative narrative.
Yeah, it's
The
a billion
people,
dollar narrative.
right? The people that hold the power in publishing, in TV, in radio, they are the ones that hold the key to what messages they want put out there. And we can't have a Sean James in 1990 putting out John Haynes
Nope.
because because that would hurt the white supremacist and modern women gynocratic narrative. Also the simps.
Yep.
I'm gonna get to the simps. Oh my god, I'm gonna get to the simps tonight. And I mean and 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 the simping is hard. But
And they created a whole business of it in the
oh
late
Jesus
80s.
Christ, it's worse than that, bro. It
Yeah.
really is.
Because
It,
I'm
it
going to talk
really is.
about that in the upcoming video about Steve Urkel. I mean, Steve Urkel was their quote unquote model for a good black man, and he was one of the worst simps. And a lot of kids grew up with these simps in the late 80s and the 90s, and it was really sad to see a lot of us, we learned simping and didn't even know we were learning simping. And we found out,
Yes. Ding, 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 ding. Yes. We didn't even know we were simping because we were behind the eight ball for the longest of time. Like, why are girls acting like this towards me? Like
yeah,
it was just so weird.
yeah,
And then when I graduated from high school, I went to the military. So almost 2 years I was in the military, then I came out, right? So now I've got more resources. I've got my own place. I'm doing things, and yet still I was coming across these misandrous, crack-headed attitudes, and all and not knowing that there was a total system
yep,
at play with with the attitudes and the behaviors of the generation X women
yeah.
in the late 80s and early to mid 90s.
'Cause a lot of us, we learned that simping was normal because all the TV shows we watched, they had this quote unquote good guy. And he was always pandering to the women and he was always
Yep.
begging. And we never really learned what manhood was. I mean, the guys from today with YouTube, they're learning a completely different thing because the guys like us, we've been there before. We know about what with Pookie and Ray Ray. We know that the women go to those guys for power and control. We know that the simp paradigm doesn't work. I mean, we came out of it we learned a whole messed up thing from people like Oprah Winfrey and Terry McMillan telling us their idea of a good man and not understanding that that narrative was a lie. I mean, we had no fathers to sit down and talk to us and help us get through that simp phase because it's a phase that boys go through and the fathers help you get out of it because
I
you
had a
learn.
father, but he checked out.
I
I had a
know.
father, but he checked out. He had checked out of the whole deal, right?
Yeah.
So, him and my mother got divorced. He turned around, got married again. She was horrible. Okay. she didn't know, she couldn't know how to be a woman, let alone spell the word woman. All right. So you can tell I have a very big hatred for my step folks. But anyway, um, as I was saying though, I mean, so my father checked out. He he did. He checked out. I got a lot of my male influence from my godfather, my my one of my uncles, and my second oldest, well, my two older brothers. My second oldest brother on how to treat a woman, and then my oldest brother on how not to treat a woman.
Yeah.
So
I had to, I had to
that was
learn
my
on my own. So you have to learn about reading nonverbal cues and body language and reading people and observing their behavior. I mean, this is stuff that boys need to be taught, but they weren't taught for an entire generation.
exactly. That's why when my son was born, I made sure I was the very first person he see. I made sure that I was the very first person in his family that he saw. And when I looked at him and I held him in my hands, I said, "You know what, son? I've got plans for you." And those plans were simple. How 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 to be a man, how to grow into being a man, having a plan, being successful, why it's important for you to be successful, all right? And making sure that he goes to the best schools,
Yeah, that's
that
essential. You don't
making
want your
sure he
boy.
goes to the best schools where he can get a proper education.
Yeah, and be
And
around males who are functional because some public schools will
exactly.
mess your boy up. I know that from growing up and being in one of them. It just destroys a boy being in that environment. So getting your
That's
boy in the proper school, that's something you got to put the money on.
exactly. Speaking of money, me and my ex-wife paid for him to go to a Montessori high school. And he went to that Montessori high school. And his classes were like 8 to 10 kids per class. So he learned and he got the instruction he needed from his teachers so that he could maximize his education. So I'm saying that all to say that I took it upon myself, Sean, that I will be damned if I'm going to bring a son into this world. I'm gonna make sure he's not gay. I'm gonna make sure that he's highly intelligent. I'm gonna make sure that he can have a functional, highly intelligent, and balanced emotional relationship with a very good looking woman. I made sure that he be his own man. So that when I'm no longer here, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that he will be successful. And I put into his mindset that you're not going to work to be just an employee. You're working to learn how to be a boss. So one day you're going to be in charge, running and owning your very own company.
That's what you do when you're investing in a man. That's the whole concept of what I talk about in the man crisis about investing in men. Because the earlier you invest in that boy, you're putting on an investment for a payoff when he becomes a man.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And for those who get offended, what do you mean you didn't want him to become gay? Yes. I told him at very early age, as early as 4 or 5 years old, that you are a boy. Boys like girls. Boys are masculine. It's okay to be masculine. All right. Watch your dad. See how your dad, how masculine he is. And he learned that. And I also put him around other masculine alpha males that he can learn from, so that he knows that, hey, it's just not dad just saying this. Wow, look at my uncle Jason. Wow, look at my uncle Dwayne. Look at Mr. CeeLo. Look at Mr. Tony. Like, these guys are really, and these guys are real men. And I wanted my son to have those experience early in life. I'm talking 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years old, because going forward, once they get those preteen years and they hit teenager, It's over.
Yeah,
Their their persona, more or less, is already been developed.
and you don't want to put them around in an environment with these Pookies and Ray Rays because they just will destroy your boy.
Hell no. Hell no.
Those guys are just stupid.
Absolutely not.
I
Absolutely
went
not.
to school with these guys, and it's like they take good kids and they just suck them into a black hole. And that's why you got to put the investment in early because you want your child to be productive when they get older and have that foundation so they can go out here and have an impact.
Exactly. And these are the things that I talk about on Chris and Company. And why the importance of that. Now, I usually I don't talk about celebrity uh, gaga and stuff like that. However, I do talk about the political and current events that are going on in the news cycle. And I juxtapose that, I juxtapose that, where everything that I say, I'm thinking about my children. I'm thinking about their best interest. I've even had, and you've heard it, I think you've heard me have Chris Jr. on my show. It's, you know, these are things that I do. I'm not a grifter, right? I say what I mean and I mean what I say, good, bad, or indifferent. And it's very important for children to see that in their male role models, in their male role models. And it's a lost art because the gynocentric modern woman, feminist misandrious, I am woman, hear me roar. They were literally, especially in the 90s, because that's when I had my children, tried to do everything they can to try to take my children away from me. Now they were successful with my daughter, but I was goddamn if they was going to take me away from my son. And when I say they, I'm talking about when I divorced my ex-wife. I had to go through child support court and then had to set up visitation and then establish custody and all of that. The system is literally designed to make black men give up being black fathers. And then you had bastards like Bill Cosby back in that time talking shit about, well, a black man shouldn't be doing this and a black man shouldn't be doing that because he was smelling himself coming off the success of the Cosby Show and in a different world. That didn't turn out too well for you, did it, Billy Boy? So these were the things that I had to fight. I had to fight to get custody of my son. I had to fight to get his influence. White men don't have to do that. White fathers do not have to fight to get their son's influence. They don't. And we, because you know why we got to fight for it? Because the narrative is, hey, the average black man, he's a deadbeat dad. So with that narrative, it makes it harder for black fathers, well, to be black fathers
Yeah,
because of all the bullshit that we have to put up with, especially if you lay down with a chick, all right, that uses child support as a hustle, all right? You got to go back and forth to court with her, but you can only do so much of that because you got to work a job, right?
and going to
Eh,
court costs money.
Exactly. You got to work a job. Then you've got to file a motion and all this other stuff to take her sorry ass back to court so that you can establish paternity and visitation with your son, right?
Right.
So when you do all of this, even the courts was looking at me sideways like, oh, you only just doing this because you're just trying to get back at your ex. Uh,
Not understanding that black men care about their children. That's always been
exactly.
something that nobody wants to talk about. There are black men
No.
who care about their children, want the best for their children, but the mainstream media puts the narrative out there. Oh, he's a no good black man. He's a lazy black man. And these guys,
Mhm.
and a lot of fathers make efforts to go see their kids, make efforts to give their kids the very best, but the mothers will downplay it. The media will downplay it. And they sell us the fantasy, oh, somebody else is a good man. But why did that woman get involved with that man in the first place? I mean, if this man was the man she had children with, then he has to be father material.
Oh, exactly. Like D Wood 78 Part 2 said, there were rap songs like Passing Me by the Far Side. I still bump to that. Yeah, we're in our mind, we were supposed to be simps. And we did not know that we were being played. We were being played on a major scale beyond the scope of our understanding, Sean.
Yeah. I mean,
And
I got glimpses of it in '89 when I woke up and I said, these women do not respect black men at all. They just see black men as tools. And a lot of these simps out here, these dope dealers, these guys were the worst simps in the game. They just came out here with their money trying to show out, and the women just basically took advantage of them.
right, exactly. But also not just that. I want to get to the instigators, Sean. I
Yeah,
want to I want to get to the instigators of all of this. So I've got a list. I've got a list of punk ass bitch institutions and people who have had a hand in destroying the black nuclear family. Here we go. J. Edgar Hoover, the FBI, CIA, Oprah Winfrey, Terry McMillan, Rolanda, Maury, Jerry Springer, and the entire mayonnaise mainstream maggot mafia media. All of them, all of them are are the are accused, not accused, they are guilty. They are guilty of trying to systemically destroy the black nuclear family by all and any means necessary.
they all work systemically together, generation after generation. I mean, they brought the drugs in the black community. They organized the gangs because they brought their infiltrators on the West Coast and basically created these gangs because those gangs were created by a government.
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. Hey, Sean, have you ever had a grown man? Have you ever had a grown black man cry to you in front of your face because the court disallowed him to have any uh, decent time, decent time with their children?
I've never had that
I've
happen.
had that. Yeah, I had that. I had to. I never forget that. So I was filing some papers. I was getting my custody thing in order, and this young brother, he came out of the court crying. And when I say crying, I'm talking boo-hoo. I'm talking monster tears. All right. They said, man, they regulated me from seeing my own son to 1 weekend a month. 1 weekend a month.
And the boy needs his father every day.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. And while all this was going on, these people that I've just named, the institutions that I've just named, all of them, all of them has systematically destroyed the black nuclear family. All of them.
Yeah, I talk about why 70% of black women are single. They systematically, deliberately destroyed the black family. What they want to do was break up the black family so that the black woman would run the household so they could go out here and make money at her expense and also be able to influence the children and the influence that the single mother has over the children in their de facto household. This is why we got all this dysfunction going on today.
Yes. And not only they created, these people created the monsters.
Yeah, the
They
children of the
created
corn.
the family will. They created the Fannie Willises. They've created the Tiffany Henyards. All right. They created the Natalie Halls. All right. You know who Natalie Hall is?
You can tell me who she is. I don't know who this is.
Okay. Well, she's the Fulton County commissioner that had sex, open sex in her very office with her former chief of staff.
Wow, that's a hood rat. Corporate American hood rat.
Okay.
No respect for
And
the office.
no, 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 not at all.
Running it
In
like a
fact,
ghetto.
so much. Wait a minute. It gets worse than that. So she personally knows Fannie Willis. Fannie Willis having open sex with Nathan Wade, Natalie Hall having open sex with her former chief of staff in the office. And wait a minute, it gets worse, nieces and nephews. They had a meeting. They had some type of county meeting. And I forgot his name. I forgot his name real quick. But Natalie Hall's former chief of staff sued Fulton County for $1 million, and he won, Sean. Google it. I love your opinion on that. Now, we like to share stories because we a tag team.
Yeah.
So go look that up. Now, that the $1 million, you would think the $1 million is bad, but here's what's worse. The people that presided over her, basically her bosses, has taken out $200,000 out of her county commissioner budget, not her pocket, not out of her pocket, but they took $200,000 out of her county commission budget to make sure that her former chief of staff gets paid that $1 million lawsuit. Sean, you can't make this up.
I mean, if these were white guys, they'd be investigated by the FBI right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, if these were white guys, they would be just locked up for stuff. Because I listened to this scandal, and this is absolutely horrible when you really think about it. I mean, here are people who are running the Fulton County office, and they are participating in the same type of scandal I used to hear white guys get into back in the 80s here in New York. I mean, there were a whole bunch of scandals like this, and people are just blowing it off, not understanding how just bad this is, because they're basically running the district attorney's office and these offices like one of these hood rat hair salons or one of these hood rat nail salons. And this shows us that even though they've got these educations, they're not very smart and they don't have good character. I mean, this is character unbecoming people who have taken an oath to defend the constitutions of the state and the U.S. Constitution. And these people basically embarrassing these offices. And it's all due to the dysfunctional way that they have been raised. Because if you have good values, you wouldn't be acting like this. If you're a person who values professionalism, you're not going to act like this. But when you are somebody who's been raised like a ghetto hood rat, you're basically going to run a office like a prosecutor's office, like a fish shack or a rib shack or a nail salon. And that's the most embarrassing thing about this whole situation with Fannie Willis. I mean, she basically runs the DA's office and the people who work with her running it like some hood shop. And I'm just expecting some guy to come in and talk about he got some cheeseburgers or something like that. Because that's the way that place is run.
Absolutely. So the gentleman's name is Calvin Brock. Okay. So let me go over this, and I'm breaking it down in its purest form, guys. All right. Because of J. Edgar Hoover, the FBI, the CIA, Oprah Winfrey, Terry McMillan, Rolanda, Maury, Jerry Springer, the mayonnaise maggot media, the Raw, the Real, and all those other misandry, men-hating shows, they are responsible for creating the monsters. And I'm talking about the succubus horror monsters of Fannie Willis, Natalie Hall, Tiffany Henyard, and even broads like the Cheesecake Lady who's too good to eat some cheesecake. Oh, and also Candace Owens. There you go. Bravo. They created those institutions, and those people created Candace Owens, Fannie Willis, and Natalie Hall, and the current disgusting modern woman gynocracy.
Yep. Corporate American hood rats.
Yeah, and wait a minute. Why don't you play the video of what Fannie Willis said that she wasn't going to do before she got to be DA?
All right.
Yeah,
First, we'll play the copyright disclaimer.
I love your disclaimer, by the way.
Thank you. And then we will present. There we go.
Won't have sex with his employees because they deserve a DA that won't put money in their own pocket when it should go to benefit children because we deserve better.
Womp womp. That didn't age well, did it?
Nope.
That didn't age well at all. So see the hypocrisy, folks?
Yep.
See the hypocrisy? All right. So remember, yes. And also I'm gonna throw in Ileana Van Zandt. She's also part of the media sisterhood gynocracy that created these monsters. All right. They are. Also, there's another video I sent you about what happened to Fannie. All right.
Okay, I think I have that one.
Yeah. And this is coming from a Black woman of substance.
Okay, let me see if that's the wrong one. Okay, let me see where. Okay, not that one. Okay, this one. This
Yep.
one. All right, I'll be right back in
Here
a
are
second.
some takeaways from my
Be
watching
right back real quick.
Bonnie Willis hearing. Bonnie Willis is the district attorney from Fulton County that was in a relationship with her special prosecutor, Nathan Wade. Why is she relevant? Well, she became a big deal because she's the district attorney that is prosecuting Donald Trump's voter fraud case. So here are my takeaways after watching this hearing for 2 days. The first takeaway is it's probably not a good idea to date contractors that you have hired. This proved to be a terrible idea, especially if you're trying to prosecute an ex-president of the United States. You're prosecuting big names. You have to know that these people have resources and they're going to dig in your background as well. They don't just lay down when they have billions of dollars at their disposal. Second takeaway is if you don't have to be put under the microscope, why would you volunteer to go under the microscope? At the point when Miss Willis entered the courtroom, it was not determined that she had to testify. She wanted to. She entered the courtroom like she was about to throw hands up. And I'm like, really? This is not a good look already. So the whole goal was to get in there and stand on business and let the world know that, I'm running shit. Not really.
Okay, I'm back.
In efforts to prove the timeline, not her innocence, because she admitted to having sex with Nathan Wade, but she got up there and just started running her mouth. And as a prosecutor herself, she knows that's a gift. It's a gift when you're a prosecutor, not when you're sitting and testifying in a hearing about yourself. I saw a lot of TikTok videos where people was like, yeah, she got up there. She told them she stood on business. Yeah, did you hear her? Yeah, she didn't pull no punches, blah, blah, blah. But I just wondered if those people heard her say that she took money from her campaign, took cash, and put it in her house. Did they miss that part? They know that's not legal, right? The third takeaway that I learned is if you have a public position, you don't have a private life. It's not a great idea to testify that you didn't know the code of ethics. As a district attorney and an attorney, I think she should know that ignorance is no defense. The other thing is you can't say that your relationship wasn't hidden, that it was just private. It's not private when the person that you're in the relationship has a whole damn wife. Not just a wife, but a wife that's in the middle of a divorce with income disclosures. He's not divorced. It came out yesterday that their divorce has not been finalized. The fourth takeaway I learned is you could take a person out the hood, but you always can't get the hood out that person. Why do I say that? Because there are a lot of law degrees on the line right now. There's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears put into getting those law degrees and passing that damn bar exam. And you're getting up there on the stand and putting all that at risk. Terrence Bradley was the partner of Nathan Wade in the law firm. So they got him up on the stand and eviscerated his ass, and they're not done. He tried to bring that code of silence, no snitching rule under the guise of attorney-client privilege. He tried to bring that shit up on the stand, and they cornered that ass. Bruh, you at risk for perjury. They're not done with you. It was effortless. It was effortless the way they got his ass. They asked him if he was the attorney that did Nathan Wade's divorce papers. He said yes. Yes, he was. And he had been asserting attorney client privilege from 2017, 2018. You know, the defense was not going for that broad shit right there, those broad dates in that wide open space. They wasn't going for that. So they said, what date did you sign the engagement? I don't know. You don't know when you took on a new client. You don't know how much you charged the new client for the divorce. Nope. I don't have it in front of me. We in a digital world, dude. We're in a digital world, and you're an attorney too. I don't know who the hell been hiring you, but they got his ass. So then they go on to say, okay, you don't know the dates. How much did you make? How much did you invoice Nathan Wade for your services for the divorce? I don't know. So now it looks like he perjured himself because he said in earlier testimony that he left that law firm due to something that falls under attorney-client privilege, and it had to do with Nathan Wade's divorce, which is not true. We know that's not true because Nathan Wade is still married. That came out yesterday, late in the afternoon. And the other part is the state got up and said, have you been accused of sexual assault by an employee at the law firm? So he admitted that he did do that. And he said that he left because of that. And he had left $20,000 in escrow. And they asked him, did he pay her off, the employee? And first he said no, he didn't pay her off. And they said, okay, so you just left the law firm with $20,000 in escrow. Is that right? Which didn't make any damn sense. So, they had him. Then he finally admitted that he paid her off for the sexual assault. Now you're probably like, what the hell does this have to do with Fani Willis? Okay, so now that they got him to admit that, and then a second person came forward, they had her ready to testify, but he had already got off the stand. So I don't know what's going to happen with that next week. But because he admitted that he didn't leave the law firm because of something related to Nathan Wade's divorce, next week they're going to figure out if they're going to make him testify about what he really knows about Fani Willis and Nathan Wade's relationship, because there is no attorney-client privilege as it seems right now. Also, there's no engagement. There's no agreement where he signed on as the attorney. So I don't know what's going to happen next week. I know I went off on a tangent, but I guess my point is all that keeping it real shit, some shit you got to leave behind, okay? I ain't say forget where you came from, but that shit still ain't for you, because now you in different spaces and everything you work for is on the line, and not in a good way. Oh yeah, and Nathan Wade shit is on the line because they got him for perjury already. Terrence Bradley got up there and contradicted him with the credit card use. The fifth takeaway is do not use business credit cards for personal use and then tell the world about it. So Nathan Wade and Fani both testified in this hearing that Nathan Wade purchased tickets on the business credit card and then she reimbursed him in cash. So they're both, their stories are aligning because obviously they talked about it and they're trying to cover themselves because they're more slicker than my man Rick, right? No. So all those people that felt like, yeah, she went in there and stood on business. Yeah, she went in there and stood on the wrong side of business. Because when you use business credit cards, it should be for business. They said they used it for a trip for his birthday because she had such a terrible 50th birthday. She wanted him to have a great birthday and he had a cancer diagnosis and blah, blah, blah. But they used the business credit card and then she reimbursed him in cash with no paper trail and she's not giving up those records, right? So yeah, she stood on business. We just not sure what side of the business. Now there's talk of tax evasion, right? And then here's the other thing. Nathan Wade testified he never ever used any credit cards belonging to Terrence Bradley. Terrence Bradley got up there and said, yes, Nathan Wade did use his credit cards. And the sixth takeaway wasn't a huge takeaway for me because I know to wear a bra when I'm coming outside. I know that. So I look forward to next week to see what else happens.
Damn.
Wow.
Wow.
Yes. Is this a DA's office or a rib shack?
And how sad is it that a woman had to tell another woman like Fannie to put on a bra because it makes her look as tacky as the conflict of interest case that was put upon her.
This is just sad. I mean, I just have to shake my head at this because I come from one of the worst neighborhoods of the South Bronx. I mean, on Morrisania, I live next to the railroad tracks, and even I know how to act better than this.
We do, but this is a woman in position of power.
That's what I'm saying. It's
And
just,
she was too lazy and too tacky to put on a bra. And for that woman to call her out on that goes to show you just how degrading and degenerative of a society that we have today.
yeah.
Remember, Fannie Willis, she's not just some ordinary chick. She is the district attorney of one of the largest cities in the United States, Atlanta, the same city that got the Olympics in 1996. And here is her fat, slovenly, sloppy ass walking around with a fat pouch in her belly and saggy tits, and was too lazy to put on a bra. And it took a woman to call her out on that.
I mean, just embarrassing. I mean, it's a shame a grown woman has to tell you how to dress for your own job when you're supposed to be the leader. You're supposed to be the one telling them how to dress and setting a standard. And it shows that you just grew up in a really dysfunctional fashion. I mean, it's just like you were saying. It's the way I look at it. It's like she was a child of the corn, and this child of the corn basically grew up to become one of these weeds that came up in a high place. And to say that this is the district attorney she's an embarrassment to the office.
Yes, she's a disgrace to the office. You know, and if I'm not, let's see here. Yeah, she's 53 years old, folks.
Yep.
What did we just talk about in this first hour? We talked about Generation X and how the Generation X women were groomed and sophisticated and was systematically programmed to disrespect, disrupt, and destroy the Black nuclear family. She ain't married.
Nope.
But she's a baby's mama. And why is she not married? Because clearly, just like unfortunately, I'm just going to say it, just like the majority of Generation X women, they are unmarriable. They are undateable. They are completely, totally, socially, mentally, and spiritually inept to carry and produce
They
and
were the,
be part of a healthy, serious, committed relationship.
they were the first
They don't
generation.
have it in them.
They were the first generation indoctrinated into feminism, and that's why they are just incapable of being a partner to anyone because they aren't women; they're feminists. And I talk about that in the Woman Crisis. These are not women suitable to help meet the needs of a man because they want to be the boss, they want to be the leader. And we see from the way Fannie Willis runs her office, she's not capable of leading anything.
Exactly. Exactly. Z Ken says Wendy Williams, Lisa Bonet, Niecy Nash. What does Wendy Williams, Lisa Bonet, and Niecy Nash have in common? They're all divorced.
Yep.
So it's all the men's fault, right? Well, in Niecy case, the woman. You know, it's everybody else's fault but theirs, right? Like you've got to see the patterns, the behavior on how on on how the trends of relationships and dating is going.
And the pattern, all is the common denominator is that these women are the ones who keep failing. Every
Yes.
guy they get involved with just can't work with them. I mean, Lisa Bonet had Lenny Kravitz, it didn't work. Had just recently Jason Momoa, it didn't work. Wendy Williams had a husband, didn't work. Niecy Nash, I mean, they all have the same pattern of picking guys who they cannot be compatible with, and the feminism they indoctrinated in makes them incompatible with men. It's like putting a VHS tape in a DVD
Well,
player. Just not going
well,
to work.
Sean, let me piggyback off what you're saying. Tag me in. All right. Now, what do they all three also have in common? They benefited from the media, from mainstream media, whether it was radio, print, TV, movies. They all, they they made their name in those areas. Now, once again, what was going on back then? Black men suck, black girls rock, black girls suck. I mean, black men suck, black girls rock, and
Excuse me.
ever don't you ever be told that you have to be complimentary towards your man. You are the prize, and if they don't like it, then you leave them in the dust. That is the message that was told. That was the message that they bought into, and now they're all lonely.
Yep. They are all residents of a place I like to call Bus Downtown.
Mm-hmm.
Where
Bust
the-
downtown.
Yep.
And let's talk about bust downtown. All right, Fulton County.
Hmm.
Did you also know that that even at the Fulton County Jail, there's a few news stories out where the women correction officers lost their jobs having sex with the male inmates in there?
Oh,
Google
I've heard of it. It's a trend.
and my daughter had the nerve when I love my daughter. I do. I'm hard on her though. But when I left Cleveland, for those who know, I am from Cleveland, Ohio. When I moved out here to Arizona, I really didn't. Before I moved here to Arizona, I didn't know where I was going just yet. So I had people talking me into moving to Texas. Some people, wanted me to move back to Atlanta, and I could not. My daughter's like, Daddy, you ever thought about moving back to Atlanta? And my skin almost crawled. I cannot, and this is nothing against people in Atlanta. This is a Chris thing. I could not see myself going back to Atlanta. I just couldn't. And I couldn't see myself going back there was because a lot of the behaviors, like the Natalie Halls, like the Fannie Willises, and like what I just told you about female correction officers losing their jobs because they're having sex with the male inmates, that I knew the culture was there.
Yep.
And I know that a man like me, a man of my stature, a man of my integrity, a man that got his shit together, a man that I am going to hold women accountable. They wouldn't appreciate me. They wouldn't appreciate me. They wouldn't like me. And I had the wherewithal to know that Atlanta was just not the place for me. And the place for me is where I'm at right now in the desert Southwest.
I mean, Atlanta sounds basically like a sewer to me, from what you're telling me. I mean,
Don't wait a minute, Sean. Don't put this on me. The stories are right there.
I know I've heard of other horror stories from other YouTubers who have said, it's just not a place you want to go because,
right.
I mean, basically the Pookies, the Sharkeishes, and these ratchet chicks have they've turned it back into what my old Bronx neighborhood used to be. I mean, my old Bronx neighborhood was filled with these kind of people who they ruin the quality of life of everything.
Exactly. Now let's talk about the simps. For all the people that are listening to this broadcast here on YouTube, TikTok is simp central. It is a hub for thirsty, spellbound simps that are desperate to hook up with hoes on TikTok that are willing to drop the atomic thong. Wait a minute, I got it. The skid mark jockey thong to try to reach that nasty STD riddled atomic waist. All right. And I'm telling you, there are so many weak men on TikTok. And they cape and they gas the heads up of these modern broads. That's another thing too. It's funny how women like Wendy Williams, Lisa Bonet, Niecy Nash, and all these modern women, they get their heads gassed up by the simps, and then what the modern women hoes do, they gaslight the simps.
Yep. That's how they get their free stuff.
You can't make this shit up. You can't make it up. It would be funny if it wasn't so pathetic.
Yep. The simps basically fuel all of this fire, and they've been fueling the fire since the first generation of simps came out with the baby boomers, and the Gen X simps were the worst. I'd have to say that is one of the worst generation of simps because these guys are just basically raised with the idea of being the so-called quote-unquote good man. They told you need money to get these girls, and they just basically gas these women up with this money, and that's why these women have no respect for them.
Right. And then the worst part is these guys will gas up the female quote-unquote queens heads up by talking, but there are men out there that put their hands on women, and there are men out there that. Well, we already know that, and when we call those men out, we hold those men to account. We hold them to account. And yet, but simps go overboard, over and above, over the top to hook up with a chick that's already a public toilet. Most of those chicks on TikTok have already been ran through, and they're looking for new simps to run through.
Well, I'll even go even further. These are chicks who they've run through their course. I mean, they've gone from Black Planet in 2000 to MySpace to Facebook to Twitter to IG. I mean, and TikTok is just the latest stop on their 304 train. So these guys basically, these women have gone from one place of social media to the next, and these simps just follow them because these guys don't understand what a relationship is about because they've bought into a lot of nonsense from Madison Avenue and Hollywood telling them, oh, I gotta be this guy who goes out here and spends money to impress a girl. These women, I learned from high school back in the late '80s, they don't care about your money. All they see you as a utility to get what they want. And once they get what they want, they got like 3, 4 of you guys on rotation. I mean, I learned that back in high school just watching these chicks, and these guys just still don't get it. Some of them are my age, are 50 years old. Some of them are even 60 and 70, still simping out here. And again, these guys, they promoted these ideas, and a lot of these guys never came out of this because they never had a father or another man to sit down and teach them how things work as related to relationships, as related to dating. They had nobody there to talk to them, and they're still leading with their wallet, and their wallet has just led them into a death trap.
Exactly. Exactly. And you know what's the worst part about it? There are no one on TikTok. There are no real rock rib with a pair of set of balls like you and I aren't even talking about anti-simping.
Yeah.
I want to have a meeting with you off uh offline
All right.
one of these days, maybe sometime next week,
All right.
because you know why? I want I want to get you on TikTok and be able to do TikTok live. So that way you and I can tag team on there too. And we're going to call it the no simp zone.
Yeah. I mean, I could
We,
do the shorts myself because I've done a couple of them, but it's very, I
well,
have
no,
other,
in order for you to do it live, you got to get 1,000 followers. You
yeah, I
got
don't
to
have that yet.
well, we'll listen, Uncle Chris got you. Okay. Let's just put it that way. I'm gonna make that happen for you. But we got it. We'll set up a meeting next week. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right. And we're gonna call it the No Simp Zone Tag Team. And you say, well, Mr. Chris, why would you bother putting in any time for that? I'm putting in time for that because we've got to change the behavior. We've got to change the behavior and the mindset of today's culture. We've got women out here, Fannie Willis, not, and I'm calling her Candace Owens, Natalie Hill or Hall, whatever damn name is, Tiffany Henyard. These women are destroying the black nuclear family. They're in positions of power where they're killing their neighborhoods. They're killing the neighborhoods that they come from. You say, well, why are you on Fannie Willis so much? Rayshard Brooks. Now let me get you folks. Let me get you folks why I barbecue that bitch Fannie Willis when it comes to that man Rayshard Brooks. As a black man coming from Cleveland, I was living in Cleveland when Tamir Rice got shot and killed by Timothy Loman, dead, an 11-year-old black kid. And guess what happened? The prosecutor, Tim McGinty in Cleveland, refused to hold that cop accountable and never pressed any charges. So now here comes Fannie Willis, fat, slovenly, sloppy ass. She's just about as fat, as ugly as my baby's mama that live in Warner Robins, Georgia. But I digress. She turns around and she does not prosecute the 2 officers that killed Rayshard Brooks at that Wendy's in 2020. Because all she was concerned with was getting that fast track to be getting into more power, just like that wannabe black president, vice president Kamala Harris. She saw what Kamala Harris was doing, and she wanted to do that same thing. All right, as Cat Williams would say, well, Oba Cabin now, me's gonna be the good black female picking any nigga, and I'm not going to use my power to get this black family justice here, and I'm gonna just let the cops go because I'm a good little slave nigga. That's what Fannie Willis is, flat out. That's why I'm putting my verbal foot on her neck, because it's the prosecutors, just like the asshole that didn't prosecute the cops shooting Breonna Taylor. They are destroying the nuclear black family when black families don't get justice. Then you got whores in Fulton, same in Fulton County. I don't know what's in the water with Natalie Hall having sex with her chief of staff in the office, and then has the nerve to have an attitude. Go look at some of those videos where the people were calling out her bullshit, and she wasn't even woman enough to look at her constituents in the eye. She was playing on her phone, just like typical modern woman whores do.
Yep.
We have to change the culture. We have to change the behavior and the mentality. And brothers see you and I doing it. One to come, then two will come, and then three come, and they will make, and they'll be like, no, but sister, that's tacky behavior. That's uncouth and uncool. And we have to do that. Because if not, there's going to be more Tiffany Henyards out there. There's going to be more Fannie Willis's out there. There's going to be more Natalie Halls out there. There's going to be more Candace Owenses out there. And I'm about to fry that bitch right there. Candace Owens is the worst of the worst. Now you say, how is she the worst of the worst and not the Fannie Willis? You know why? Because at the end of the day, I'm still going to pursue a relate where I'm taking right now. My significant other is a funny, beautiful black woman. And that's what I like. So we can speak on these subject matters because we want what's in the best of the black nuclear family in all black communities across the United States of America. That's what we want. I'm quite sure if Sean James got married tomorrow, he would be a very happy man because of the content of the character he brings into a union like that. So he has the right to talk about this. I have the right to talk about this.
Yep.
My voice is getting right. The thing about Candace Owens and why she's the worst of the group is because she's a grifter. See, Fannie Willis and Natalie, they still rock with black men, even though they do some raunchy crap. Okay, Tiffany Henyard, she rocks with a black man, but she does some real raunchy and ratchet crap. But Candace Owens is the most dangerous because she has no convictions. She has no boundaries. She has zero substance. So when she went to be with white men, she flexed. She did it as a flex towards black men. So she's willing to sell herself out, compromise who she is in order to be on the team of white supremacy. And playing in their yard, sleeping with those white dogs and end up coming out with white fleas. Guess what happened? They got rid of her ass.
Yep.
But the crazy part about it is she did a lot of this on herself because once again, she brought that feminist, misandry, modern women bullshit, and she thought she could get away with it speaking out against black men. And what happened? She got shown the door. But the thing is that she she doesn't have nowhere to go.
Yeah.
She can't come back. She can't come back to the black community.
Nope.
No,
We're not taking her back.
Not taking her back. she's getting roasted on epic levels. I don't know if you've seen my tweets today, but my tweets, I don't think nobody could match me when it comes to me roasting Candace today.
I mean, I've seen her getting cooked left and right all over the place because she's in the same place Stacey Dash was and these other bootlicks who walked away from the black community.
I'm glad you brought Stacey Dash up. Do you know what Stacey Dash and Candace Owens got in common? That they are so foolish. They're so foolish. All right. What makes them so foolish is if white men see a black woman talking down and disrespecting people who look like her, that white man is going to be like, well, if she say that about black men, oh, eventually if she gets comfortable on this side of the fence, she's going to be talking shit about us. And that's exactly what happened. That's what these swirlers and these divestors don't understand. If you will shit on your own, you will shit on another group of people. And that makes you dangerous. That makes you untrustworthy. And as soon as that other group that you're trying to be in, once they see any hint of dissension or disloyalty, they're going to kick your ass out.
Yep.
And then let me preface this on a level real, on a real white supremacist level. There's a rabbi out there that literally called Candace a nigger. I hate saying that word, but he did call her that. And then what happened? Within 24 hours, she was fired. Now that's white supremacy.
Yep. And they brought the hammer down on her quick.
So that's hardcore. A rabbi called her the N-word, and then she got fired within 24 hours later. Man.
Yep.
And treated her, and I guarantee you, her own white husband more than likely called her the N-word. I guarantee it. Sean, I'm willing to bet any amount of money he's called her that.
Probably has.
Because he already knows. Well, hell, if she talks like this about her own black people, when she'll talk about us in any kind of way.
And
at some point.
And that's what she exactly did. She got on the air and started talking about people of a certain religion. And that's when they said, okay, it's time for you to go.
Yeah.
We're not having this. And they only had her there because she would talk bad about black people. But once she started thinking she was an honorary white person, she thought she could go here and start making statements against the people who actually sign her paychecks. And that was the end of Candace Owens.
It should have been the end of Candace Owens. It should have been the end of it. In fact, so much so, I ran across this lady named Ms. Olerin, and she lambasted this. She lambasted her coon Oreo ass within 2 minutes. I mean, she barbecued that bitch. Please, by all means, please, for the greater good, Mr. James, please play that video.
All right. Fair use of United States copyright law coming up. And
technical difficulties?
Nope, not technical difficulties. Here we are.
I usually really don't like to say too much about Black outlets or Black media outlets when I see them doing problematic, because I really try to give grace to the Black people on these outlets who feel pushed and pulled in different directions by corporate interests and yada, yada, yada. And so I don't be trying to say nothing too much when I see all these black outlets rolling out these right-wing nut jobs and pundits and shit. But these bringing out Candace Owens should be ashamed of their fucking selves. Candace Owens is an entire white supremacist, and worse than that, she's a fucking grifter because she doesn't believe the shit she says. This is a woman who wanted to be on the left, and when that didn't work for her, she pivoted right, married a white man, and then spends all of her fucking time blaming black people for every tragedy that happens. Look this woman up. Look at what this woman has had to say about George Floyd, about Ahmaud Arbery, about Breonna Taylor. This is a fucking Klan member. And during election season, this is who you see your black outlets rolling out. It's a damn fucking shame. It was the worst part. The only reason she's even bothering to go on this little fucking press tour and all these black outlets is because the Daily Wire has dropped her ass. That's why, because her right-wing money is starting to dry up just a little bit. Her relationships are being strained. And that's the only reason she bothered to fucking roll her ass on over there to act like she give a fuck about. But what I hate is a bunch of black outlets and black media personalities who have audiences, black audiences and community who trust them. That's what the fuck they trotting out for. Like, what does it say about us that a black woman could spend all her time being a fucking white supremacist, a right-wing talking point, and like a right-wing talking head, and just like, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. After years of actively harming the black community day in, day out. Yeah, come up on here. Let's crack little jokes. It's a fucking shame.
I'm speechless. I'm at a loss for words, Sean.
Yeah, she pretty much put all the facts there.
Hey, how did I look? Did I catch my left side good?
Yeah, you got a good angle.
Yes, guys, that was me. That's actually me, and that is my studio in the background where I do the Chris and Company radio show each and every Wednesday.
The Wednesday Nightmare. Every election year, they fire these bootlegs, and then they bring up a new group.
Yeah.
First in 2008 was Roland Martin and those guys getting fired. So it's like they'll bring them up for a little while, let them make a little bit of money, let them go out here and parrot the points, but then when they don't need them anymore, they replace them.
Exactly. You kind of cut me off in my short little promotion there. That's okay. But yeah, so yeah, that was actually me in my studio, and behind me was my actual equipment and everything. I do a radio broadcast on my very own website. I'm not on Twitter. I don't do broadcasts on YouTube or Facebook. I have my very own built website, www.niceradionetwork.com, the Chris and Company radio show, each and every Wednesday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 12 noon Pacific. All right. That's how you can find me. Now, things are changing. I am looking to get my YouTube thing together. Got to work out some stuff, but I am getting my YouTube thing together. But yes, I think it's very important. You can't be talking about Black empowerment and you're relying on someone else's platform to talk about it. Now, and that doesn't even take away from that person or persons talking about Black empowerment. My thing in my mind is it's a been there, done that. And it was time for me to broadcast on my very own website so that I can say whatever I want to say, how things need to be said, where I'm talking to Black people that support, that think like me, that are fiery like me, and they don't want to be held back on what to say or what not to say because YouTube's going to get into their vaginal feelings, or Twitter's going to get into their vaginal feelings, or TikTok, for that matter, gets into their vaginal feelings, because there's enough of that shit out there.
Yeah,
If
I find it interesting that they will go after people talking about black empowerment. But we recently had a guy basically murder someone and broadcast it, and it was up there for hours on end until people contacted YouTube. And there was a guy talking about shaving his anus who was alphabet. That was perfectly fine to their community guidelines, but black people talking about taking their power, black people talking about tangibles, black people talking about economic power, that's the thing that makes YouTube upset. I always found it to be the most interesting thing. You talk about
Mhm.
supporting black owned businesses, building a group black economy. You start talking about black people choosing who they want to vote for. Oh,
Mhm.
that's a problem. But
Oh,
a
yeah.
guy putting a murder up on YouTube and confessing to it, oh, that stays up here for hours. A guy talking about shaving his anus with graphic detail, that's perfectly fine. And
Mhm.
there are other hot nude yoga, all that stuff. None of that stuff violates the community guidelines,
Yeah.
but black people talking about wanting to empower ourselves, that's the thing that they have their eye on.
Yes, TikTok. A woman can walk around in her house in her bra and panties. No problem. Hey, I'm Mr. Chris. I have a radio show called the Chris Company Radio Show, broadcasting on www.niceradionetwork.com. Please support Black owned and operated digital broadcast media, community standards.
Yeah.
I've taken clips of Chris and Company, put them on TikTok. I've had at least half of them being taken down because of community standards. And I'm not talking where I'm going I'm going balls to the wall, throwing in a cuss word here, throwing in a cuss word there. No, I'm just talking about straight up, okay, this is what's going on. This is how we should look at this. Nope, community standards.
But women in
But
thongs and G strings, fine.
yeah, oh yes. Yeah, thongs and G strings is great. It's fine. Anything of intellectual thought or anything of political intellectual thought, community standards.
Yeah. Intelligent black men, they can't have that on there.
Can't have that.
Black men talking about big butts,
Sure.
talking about how he wants to grab it like a beach ball and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or he
Mhm.
wants to put chocolate sauce all over butt cheeks.
Yeah.
That's
Cleavage. Oh, cleavage? No problem. TikTok, thumbs up. All right. You and I having this conversation right now, we black men need to stop simping community standards. I've done live TikToks of Chris and Company, community standards. So my thing is now I'm all about controlling the narrative. So guess what, TikTok? I don't give a super flying fuck if y'all are in business or not. In fact, I really do believe TikTok going out of business will help because that's less platforms for modern women not to be socialized prostitutes and simps gassing their heads up.
yep. That's all modern women go on there for. They just go on there just to show off and get attention for themselves.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just basically a glorified porn site.
yes, that's all it is. But it's a glorified porn site, Sean. But let's look at today's dating. Let's look at how social dating is today. It's modern socialized prostitution
That's all it is.
because dating is basically pay to play.
It's been that way since
It's
the late '80s.
well, I mean, yeah, but it's brazen now.
Yeah, they're
It's
out in the
it,
open.
it's out in the open. The cheesecake hoe, right? All right, and then what happened after that, broad? There are other chicks coming out talking about where a man can't. I won't accept a date if a man take me to Applebee's or Chili's or whatever. And it's funny because My girlfriend got me some Chili's for dinner tonight. But I mean, it's just the the mindless fuckery that's going on out here. Going on out here. And and we should not have to stand for it. I don't stand for it. I don't accept it. You know, and you got these and you've got guys sipping so bad on TikTok. That man, my woman tell me something to do. I hop and jump to it, and man, you know, we need to start listening to it. And I'm just saying, you know, I said, gosh, dude, I guess if she took her panties and stuff them in your mouth and told you to swallow, you do just that, wouldn't
He probably would. He'd probably tell you it tastes great.
you? It's a sad state of affairs. It is.
But these
And
guys are just they're everything I grew up with in the 80s. I mean, the 80s I dealt with these kind of guys. I mean, these guys had no dignity, no self-respect. They would fight over these girls to the point that they were the original gassers. I see a lot of the Gen X guys, they were just gassing these women up and really just spoiling them to the
mhm.
point where they got this sense of entitlement because they could get these guys to jump through any hoop that they had. And a lot of these guys, they just weren't up on game to understand what I understood at 13, which is a lot of these chicks, they were out here with multiple guys before they got with you. And you're thinking that you're the first one. It's like, no, they were out here with older dudes. They sit there at the lunch table bragging about the older dudes. They're talking about the stuff they're getting from the older dudes. And you're sitting there because you learned stuff from Madison Avenue and Hollywood telling you that if you go out here and give her what she wants, she'll want you. So she's already getting stuff and she's just using you.
Sean, Sean, I really don't think people really understand the magnitude of the error we grew up in.
Yeah.
There were 13-year-olds already pregnant.
Yeah.
You know what I was doing at 13? Reading comic books
That's what I was doing.
like the
But
Incredible Hulk.
I was picking
The
up.
first issue of the Incredible Hulk versus Wolverine.
Yep.
And then the rematch.
Yep. But these girls were out here with, I could tell you, they were out here with 22, 23-year-old, 25, even 30-year-old
And I
men.
could never understand it because, you know, as I started dating, right? When I was 13, I'm like, wow, I like you. Sex wasn't even in the picture. But then, well, Chris, I don't like you anymore. Da, da, da. I'm sorry, but we can be friends. Do 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 do. Next time I saw that chick, she's pregnant,
Yep. By a 25, 30-year-old guy.
and I don't feel sorry for her
And not even a guy
because
with a
because
job.
and I don't feel sorry for her because you know why? Had she been with a guy like me, she wouldn't have had those problems.
No. They were dating
Wouldn't have
way
those
older
problems.
guys.
Exactly.
They were not.
See, nice guys can finish first. You just have to know how to finish.
Yep.
Don't get caught up in that super stupid bullshit that nice guys finish last. Nice guys only finish last to those who aren't nice guys. You see what I'm saying? So, of course, they will say that. It's easy to say that, right?
Yep.
Nice guys do finish first. They do, but you got to know how to finish. Don't believe me? The Super Bowl. Let's look at the Super Bowl. When the Chiefs took on the 49ers, the 49ers should have won that game, but they didn't finish. You've got to know and you've got to learn how to finish. Well, how do you learn how to finish, Mr. Chris? Well, you've got to figure it out within yourself and be self-aware of what's going on around you. When you see an attractive woman, it's easy to get spellbound. You're attractive, you're attracted to this woman. Your masculine energy is flowing. It's it's easy to get caught up in that. But you have to always ground yourself to the reality of that situation, right? She's hot, she's sexy. Okay. That shouldn't be your first question. Your first question is, why is this highly attractive woman single in the first place?
That's always been my question.
What, why is she even available from the get-go? Right? That should be the number one question. Then the number two question be, so why are you single? Well, this guy did me like this and that guy did me like that. Well, okay. And let her talk. The more she talks, the more she's talking, the more she's saying who she is. All right. So there's that. And then sneak in this question. Well, do you think maybe any of it possibly could have been your fault? If she doesn't answer that question, if she evades the question, or if she just continues to keep talking and act like she didn't hear what you said, red flag, all the way, full stop. All the way, full stop. And know your value. Know your worth. Don't put up you as a man that got your shit together. You don't have to put up with crap from people just to be around them. If your first mind telling you that that person is not worthy to be around, listen to that inner voice in yourself. Chances are you're absolutely right.
Yep.
I want to just say this, and I'll give it back. I'll give the floor back to you.
All right.
So, as I went on my Candace Owens barbecue fry on Twitter today, there's always one. There's always that one crackhead, beta male, low penis energy simp, right? And I didn't ask for his advice. I didn't ask for him to comment. In fact, he stuck his nose in with who I was tweeting with at the time. Shout out to Judge Joe Brown. Ooh, yeah, I was tweeting with him. And the guy comes in and he says, "Well, we can agree to disagree, but I like Candace Owens." Okay, here we go. So after I roasted him, right, here's was his comeback, Sean. His comeback was, well, you have 91 followers on your Twitter. Why should anybody listen to you? That was his big comeback, right? Because, well, let me re-reference, right? Because I said to him, if you are a person who likes Candace Owens, then your judgment stinks. You are not to be listened to. You're not to be taken seriously, and you're not to be respected. Anyone who likes Candace Owens, you don't know shit about life. It sucks to be you. And yes, you're not to be taken seriously, and you're not to be respected. So when I told him that, his witty comeback was, well, you got 91 followers on your Twitter. Why should anybody listen to you? And this is exactly what I told this frog fuckhead, okay? I'd rather have 91 followers that listen to me, and all of them listen to me, versus 9,100 followers and has never listened to a word I've ever said. It's not about quantity, it's about quality. But once again, that's what separates the dingleberry ding dongs from highly intellectuals like you and I.
Yeah.
Because how many times have I said it on this barbecue? How many times I've said it? The Chris and Company radio show is not for everybody. It is not. I'm not looking to be the next Tom Joyner. I'm not looking to get a mass following. I'm looking for a real, raw, and truthful following of loyal listeners that respect what I say, how I say it, and how I'm delivering messages where we can improve the Black nuclear family and the community as a whole.
That's a good platform to stand on. I would have to say so because, I mean, I listen a lot of the things you were saying. That's what I grew up and learned when I was a teenager in the '80s. That you got to ask yourself, why is this woman available, and why is she talking to me? Because you have to really. I had to ask that question because a lot of the times I was dealing with these women who were playing multiple guys, and the whole thing is a lot of these guys are these drug dealers. So I had to ask that question. Okay, why are you talking to me when I've seen you talking to other dudes? And I understood that if she's talking to me for a certain reason, I just let them sit there and talk because they'll let you. A lot of things. One thing women like to do is they love to talk, and eventually they will tell you what they really want to do because they'll just keep running their mouth, and just you got to let them run their mouth, and then they'll let you know what the real deal is with them. So that's something I would like. I did all the time. I just would watch them and study them and see who they were dealing with, and then I would sit there and listen to what they were saying. A lot of these simps, they're just too thirsty to do this, and they're so eager to go out here and get laid. They don't understand this chick is basically going to lay a trap for you if you don't really take a look out for yourself. So when I listen to these dudes, and again, I was growing up with these dudes, and these guys want to start fights and stuff over these women. Not understanding these chicks
Exactly.
they'll set you up and have you set up to be dead, another dude to be in jail. Because sometimes they go out here and set you up so they can get out from under another dude, and they'll put your life on the line so they can get out from under this other dude while he's in jail getting turned out by Bubba, Tiny, Roscoe, Big Dave, and Melvin, Mr. Sprinkles for some commissary. She's out here getting her black blown out by another dude, and you're either dead or just jacked up, and you don't know what's going on. That's one of the things that I had problems with these guys. They're just so thirsty, and again, always talking about you need to have a woman. It's like, no, you need to have your head on straight because these chicks will set you up. So that was something I had to deal with. And a lot of these guys, they just don't understand how it works, especially a lot of these simps. And sadly, with these simps, they've gotten worse than they were in the '80s. I mean, the '80s simps, the Gen X simps, they were some kind of crazy because these guys, they were just like women. Some of them, they would get upset if you were by yourself and didn't have a girlfriend. They get so mad. It's like, why are you getting mad about another man not having a woman? I mean, that means that he's out here doing his thing. And the thing is that they were afraid of competition. That's what I learned years later. They get upset because they got to deal with competition. They want you to have a woman so that they can get access that they believe is access to the women. But a lot of the times, the women that they want access to basically are not women who are of good character. And that's the big problem with these guys. And it goes back to what you said. Why is this woman available? That's what I asked in a book called Stop Simping in Cyberspace. Because I see a lot of these cyber simps, and they never ask, oh, why is this woman on OnlyFans? Why is this woman on IG?
Mhm.
I mean, if you're a quality woman, why are you on these sites showing your
Right.
backside to dudes when if you had a dude, you wouldn't be on these websites at all?
Exactly. Sean, the simping is so bad. So bad. Now, I sent you one more video. One more video. And I want to give a shout out to Kendra of the Crimson Cure. And I was briefly on her broadcast. I'm trying to get her to come on Chris and Company, and I'll let you know about that. But I was on briefly on Kendra's Crimson Cure, right? And we were just, we was talking about modern women, right? And I just basically just talked about my experience, right?
Yep.
Then some guy, some asshole in the chat turned around and started clowning on me, Sean. I'm like, dude, what? Seriously? So I'm taking my experience to help other brothers out there that to not get caught up in the okie doke. And he's hating on me because I'm on Kendra's show. You can't make this. That the simping has gotten so bad that dudes would actually get mad at you if you become a guest on a woman's YouTube platform because they're not on it.
Yep.
But guess what, Sean? Just like everybody, all the simps that I've come across, like Ultimate Black Man, I cooked his punk ass too. Would you mind please playing that beautiful footage?
All right, we'll play that footage first, but we get to do the disclaimer. Let everybody know that this is fair use. And I will be right back.
You know, hey, I got good taste in trying to hook up with content creators. You know, I just want to say first and foremost that that your show is fantastic. It's very important. Your broadcast is important because there's a lot of men like myself that need to be reassured that there are decent women out there, and I would love to interview you on my radio broadcast sometime because you know, with my platform, I'm an advocate of fathers, black fathers, but fathers' rights nonetheless. I'm also a veteran, and so you know, I really stomp hard for those particular things, and I would think that with what you do on your platform, I know my listeners would love to hear you. They would love to hear you and be reassuring.
Well, for that, first of all, thank you. And I usually take these types of requests through my email. So if you haven't emailed me already, please do. Somebody please put the email in the chat for Mr. Chris so he can go through my email, because that's how I screen and put everything in order to make sure of whether or not we can arrange an interview, because I absolutely have no problem with interviews. So so definitely come through my email with that, with the request. And any requests, if any of you have any requests of interviews or you want one-to-one, do it that way. So, but anyways, thank you for that. Do we got anything on the topic?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, one of the, you know, I don't talk about subjects like this on a regular basis. There's one part of it that's not really talked about, and that's the fact that there are women that baby trap men, and they will try to make themselves too available, and oh well, I'd like to spend more time at your house, and oh I'll just hang out at your house until you get back, or sure, you can come over to my house anytime, and you know, like I said, I've had to avoid getting involved with women because their focus was to put me in a baby situation. And what they do is they just move on to the next man when they don't get when
it doesn't work out.
When it doesn't. And then when I bring this up, when I bring my situation up in conversations, all you hear is silence. As if like, well, that can't possibly be true. Like, yes, yeah. I know a female who was caught up in some, real quick, she was caught up in some welfare stuff, right? and she turned around and had a baby. She turned around, got pregnant, just like that. And her daughters were adults. They were already like 19 and 20 and 18 years old. And then she turns around and drops a brand new child. Oh yeah. Yeah.
And there's a lot of stories like that. There's a lot of stories like that. And this is why I brought up the topic about whether or not women are responsible for single motherhood, because women are out here actually making a lot of choices. And we're no longer going to approach the situation from the victim standpoint. Oh, well, the women were tricked into relationships, or they were tricked into this, or they were deceived somehow, or they're naive somehow. And so that's why I wanted to have this conversation, because we're well beyond a generation of women that are just naive. But what I want to do is I want to speak to what's on the screen right now, this comment.
Oh, they couldn't baby trap if you had sexual discipline grow up. Well, that just shows how ignorant you are, because for the mere simple fact that I did use that. See, that's what this person doesn't know. And see, that's another thing too. Women control sex, right? So how can a woman cannot be held responsible for single motherhood when she controls the levers of what starts motherhood? Sex. So make sense.
Exactly.
And yeah, so and as far as this idiot making this comment right here, let me tell you something. I'm 52 years old. I don't get to where I'm at. I don't accomplish the things where I'm at if I wasn't grown up. So suck on that.
Not stuck on it.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna email you. Okay.
Please.
And thank you. Okay.
You're welcome. All
Bye-bye.
right. Have a great rest of your evening.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay.
You see see, folks, that's how a real grown ass black man move. That's how real grown ass black men move. See, simps hear what they want to hear, they see what they want to see, but just like that cantankerous dickhead dude found out, I humiliated and embarrassed him on a real mature black woman's YouTube channel. That's the difference between beta simps that don't know shit from a turd and high value alpha males like myself, who has his own production company, who takes care of business, who is his own man. And if you didn't think, and here's the thing that lame ass punks like him don't get. Strong women attract strong men. Strong black women of substance attracts strong black men of substance. Mic drop.
Yep.
I don't take no bullshit from nobody because I am a man of character. I am a man of substance, and I can show you better than I could tell you. So I dismissed him. Even she laughed at him. You noticed she laughed. I made her laugh after I cracked back on the clown, right?
Yeah. You cooked him.
There you go, Sean.
And I listened to his talking points, and I heard these talking points ever since I was a teenager in the 80s. And this whole, oh, she'll trap you with a baby. It's like, no, you're too thirsty to get in that atomic waste reactor. And that's why you fall into the trap, because guys who have discipline and self-control, they want to find out what this woman's values and character are. They're not out here to smash, because they understand that if you smash, you could fall into it. You're just going to mess yourself up because you're just dumb.
Well, exactly. Let's talk about the Crimson Cure real quick. This is a real lioness of a woman, a true woman of a true black woman of substance.
Yeah.
This woman is married. I am in a highly committed relationship. Do you see the parallels, folks?
Yeah.
People who have substance, that have values, attract one another. And when
Yep.
I mean attract, I ain't talking sexual, but I am talking more along the lines of collaborating, being friends, being comrades. I'm talking about those things.
There's a great respect for each other.
Exactly. And unfortunately for every one Kendra, we've got a Candace Owens, a Fannie Willis, Natalie Hill, Tiffany Henyard, Oprah, Michelle Obama, and Terry McMillan, and I'd be here till 5 o'clock in the fucking morning talking, bringing up these rat dogs.
These bust downs.
Exactly. So once again, and I want the women that are listening to this broadcast to understand, we know that it's not all women. But let me ask y'all this. When is the last time have any one of these degenerate modern women say, we're not all black men? You don't hear that. When's the last time you even listened or watched a mainstream television show that said, well, you know, we should not put all black men in one box? They've never said it. Why? Because they have to sell the narrative that we're just one big Negro without literally saying it. And that's why you should get your news and you should get what's your current events on shows like Sean James and the Chris and Company radio show.
Yep. Because on New Black Media, you're going to get the true story. And that's the thing they don't want out here. That's what they're so upset about, because they've been pushing this gynocentric narrative since the 80s. They pushed it all the way up into about the 2006 when YouTube came along. And when black men came along, we started finally just pushing back against this narrative. And as we push back against this narrative, people are starting to see the truth. And that's the thing they don't want to be out here with these black, especially with black women. They don't want black women to start seeing the truth about things, because a lot of the sisters out here, the black masses, they don't know what was going on. They don't know that they've been brainwashed by Oprah and Tyler Perry and Lee Daniels, Terry McMillan, all these people in this agenda, because what they want to do is just divide us, have us fighting each other, because war is a business for them, and the gender war is a very profitable one, where they get millions of billions of dollars selling us guns and butter.
Exactly. And look what we have to do. We have to fight against simps like that clown that text or that chatted in on Kendra's on Kendra's show. All right. I guarantee you, he doesn't have a studio. He doesn't have a website. He don't have none of that. But he'll hide behind his computer with virtual balls talking shit to a real super black man.
Yeah.
And get humiliated and embarrassed. Something that his mommy and daddy probably do behind closed doors.
He's a keyboard warrior.
Exactly.
Keyboard warriors are tough with the keyboard, but in real life, they can't do anything. And these simps, basically, what they're thinking to do, they're going to get some, I can talk about this in Manginas. They want to get brownie points with these women by saying, oh, I'm standing up for you. The thing is that they, at the end of the day, people just cook them and roast them, and they sit in their home with their ashy dick and their extra dry balls. And women just sit there and laugh at them, because they can see they're pandering a mile away. And when they see they're pandering, they see them for the joke they are.
Exactly. And even that guy was pandering to Kendra after all of that. That's how pathetic the state of manhood is today, because we real black men of substance, we're few and far between. Out of 10 black, I'm just saying, out of 10 black men in a room, both of us, we're real black men of substance. The 8 others are straight up simps.
Yep.
Flat out. But now we all here walk away with this, everybody. Walk away with this. We now all know who the enemies are. We all now know who the enemies are. All the enemies were forced to show their face. No more hiding like it was in the 60s, in the 70s, in the 80s, in the 90s, in the 2000s and 2010s. All right?
Yep.
I was saying I've been talking this way since 2009 when Chris and Company started. So this whole Kevin Samuels thing, I agree. I agree about 70% of the stuff that he says. All right, but he's not the OG. I'm the OG. I've been saying this on my own platforms, on my own broadcast since 2009. You don't believe me? Here's what you do. You go to www. I'm gonna put it in the chat. You're gonna go to www.niceradionetwork.com. All right. You go to my archive page. I'm gonna put the link in the chat room. Okay. When you go there, every single broadcast that I have done, all right, every single broadcast that I have done has a title, the name of that particular broadcast and the date of that broadcast. Now, clearly, there is only so many oldies that I could put on there. So I just put the best of the best. However, with that being said, go look at the dates of those broadcasts. All right. I just put the archive link of the Nice Radio Network here in the chat. All right. And go and look at the dates. All right. And the reason I want you to do that, because that's my verification. All right. That's my invoice. That's my purchase order. That I've been doing this damn thing since 2009. Ain't nobody gonna talk that BS to me that I'm just some Johnny come lately. My thing is, I'm about being the boss that I'm about being the boss that pays the cost. And being the boss pays that, but being the boss paying the cost sometimes has its Pyrrhic victories. So for instance, I had to put aside money to build the website. And when I had money to build the website, it took me longer to get the equipment. You see what I'm saying, Sean?
Yeah.
So that's that comes with the terror. That's kind of like the downside. Being your own man, sometimes things do not come together in a timely manner the way you want to, because of money, because of life, because of both.
I know that from personal experience trying to get books published. Sometimes you have the script already, but you don't have the money for the cover. Sometimes you have the money, but the artist isn't available. And you have to work with what you have until you can get things straight. And sometimes you have things, you're trying to get things together, and it's not going to happen all together at one time. Sometimes you can get things to synchronize, but it takes time to get things done and get to a certain point. And that's what people don't understand about when you're out here building.
Exactly. So when you guys, hey, listen, when you guys are not listening to Sean's YouTube broadcast, please come over to the Chris and Company radio show on niceradionetwork.com and just pull up an archive. Just sit back and listen while you're walking around a house and stuff like that, and you can listen at your leisure. Also, when you go to the archive, right, some of the archives have videos connected to it. So some videos have Sean in them. Some have Tori. I've got one with Tori and Rain. I've got other videos of Philip Scott and Professor Black Truth. Power Having your own website is power because you can put content, healthy, manly, and intellectual content on your website, and nobody can take it down, nobody can take it away, and you control your very own intellectual property.
And that's what you want. You want to be in control of it. And black folks, we have to be in control of our media, because when it comes to their media, they own that media so they can control the narrative on it. But when you control it, you're the one in charge of it. That's one of the things I've learned from my years of running SJS Direct, that when you control the media, you control the narrative, you control the stories. And that's what's essential about New Black Media. We are finally in charge of our media. We're in charge of our stories. And it's really changing the way we see black people in media from the days of the 80s, where all we got were these simp good guys like Steve Urkel and all these other guys out here. Now we're actually starting to see some balanced masculine characters like a John Haynes, or the kind of stories that I write on SJS Direct. We're starting to see different perspectives of black life that we never got to see 30, 40 years ago. And that's the impact that New Black Media has had. And that's why we got to go out here and put in the support for New Black Media, like when I'm launching on the 2024 catalog. Because if it wasn't for New Black Media, we wouldn't be having the truth told from black men about this dysfunctional paradigm of relationships that we've all been sold.
Exactly. I'm going to leave on this high note. Ken in the chat says, facts, our own comics, cartoons, video games, TV shows, films, etc. Exactly. If you are a black person and you want to open up your own black business, you have to do it on a level where everything you have, you own, meaning your very own website, not Yahoo's website, not Twitter's website, your very own website. You have to have a professional email address. Not something.com, not something at yahoo.com or something at Gmail. All right. Your very own professional business email address, like info@niceradioproductions.com or chris@niceradioproductions.com. All right. You have to be your own man, and it may take a while. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. All right. You've got to be willing to spend and invest in yourself. You have to invest in your products. My servers, I have 2 computer servers. They cost me $5,000 each. That's just my servers. All right. I'm not even going to get into my broadcast, my broadcast software. That, I tell you what, let's put it this way, it's over $1,000. The casing that I had to purchase, I'm telling you, this stuff takes money, and you've got to want it. You got to breathe it. You got to eat it. You got to sleep it. You have to become what you're passionate about. If you're not, this is not for you. So you've got to find your passion. You've got to find something that you love and then create your own job out of it. And you create your own job out of it. You don't have to worry about nobody telling you what to do. So I'm saying this all for a reason. Am I saying that rah, if I can do it, you can do it? Absolutely. Absolutely. And, every day is, there's some days you're going to get bogged down. Like, man, I don't feel like doing nothing today. That's okay. Because guess what? You don't want to burn yourself out. Some days pull back. There have been days where I haven't done nothing. I ain't come in. I'm not even been in my studio office. I haven't looked at an email. I haven't looked or saw a tweet. None of that. And I just took back and just spent time with my significant other. There are moments you're going to need that, because guess what? When you love something that you do, listen, you're gonna get back into it. You're gonna get back into the swing of things. You're gonna get back on the grind. So that's my advice to you. And don't take no shit from nobody. And don't let simps, modern women, divestors, swirlers try to tell you who you are or who you're not. You control that. That's all I got to say on that, Sean. This is raw. This is real, man. I feel like Road Warrior Hawk.
Hmm.
From the Road Warriors. No, you know what? I take that back. I take that back. No. The Nation of Domination. There we go. My boys, Farouk.
Hmm.
That's my last word, Sean.
All right. Well, if that's your last word, I have to agree with a lot of what you said here because, again, I persevere with the SJS Direct Imprint in the same way. And I keep pushing the same way, keep trying to get my best out there and trying to keep building every day. I hope to one day get this second comic out. And I can only do that with your support, with people's support right now, with those donations to the Cash App and stuff like that. So that's greatly appreciated. And we had a really great show tonight. So I want to thank you for coming out, Mr. Chris from Chris and Company. And I hope to have you on next time. But before I go, I want everybody to know that Sean Haynes Illuminati is officially out, and you can get your copy in paperback right now on Amazon.com and other online booksellers. And you can pick up this first book of the SJS Direct 2024 catalog in digital at Drafted Digital, Google Play, and other online booksellers like the iBookstore and Barnes and Noble. And the other 2024 books, Isis Dark Incubus, is going to be coming out on April 26th. And you can pre-order your digital copy right now at Amazon and other online booksellers. And this one is a big one and starts the third story arc. And you can get Esteemed Horror in the Hamptons on May 24th. You can pre-order your copy right now on Amazon and other online booksellers. And Amari's Revenge, which starts out the modern Isis series, is available with a refreshed edition, re-edited, and it's got a brand new cover by Bill Walker and Nick Capone. And you can get all these books on Amazon.com. And you can also pick up Nick Capone's book Purity, which I put up in the chat, not the chat, but the post section a while back. He's got a Kickstarter going, and it's a great comic. And I want you guys to put in a pledge for it. But with all that said, I want to really thank Chris from Chris and Company for coming out tonight. And I'm going to get ready to wrap up tonight's stream. And before I wrap up tonight's stream, I'm asking everybody to drop a donation to the PayPal or the Cash App. It helps me stay on the air. And I really, again, thank Mr. Chris for coming out tonight for tonight's show. And I hope you'll all be here for next week's show. Everybody have a good evening and everybody have a good night.